Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to do an active sequence that will bring a sense of vitality, vibrancy and clarity. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. We're going to start in the downward facing hero pose. Let's use 2 bricks underneath our hands. So if we set our bricks shoulder width apart on the blade shape, big toes touch, knees apart, and reach forward. So sometimes it's helpful to start with the bricks in closer to the knees. Slide the bricks forward as you stretch your arms forward and continue to work your hips back and down. So buttocks to heels as much as you can manage. If the knees are problematic, your knees don't like kneeling so much, then maybe you need to put some support here, perhaps a bolster or a blanket underneath the buttocks, between buttocks and heels. As you reach forward, straighten your arms. Bring the head forward and down, but go on lengthening the breastbone forward. Bring in a steady rhythm of breathing. So as you establish this in the very first pose of our session, we want to maintain this steadiness in breath and steadiness in mind as we continue. Now, raise the head up. Place your bricks on either sides of the mat, just so you've got space there to press your hands flat into the mat for downward facing dog pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So the arms are still straight. You look forward. Inhale, shoulders forward, tuck your toes. Exhale, lift up the hips. Press through the arms and the hands to stretch your mat forward away from the feet. Then lift the sides of the chest, the armpit chest up, and to magnify the lift of the sitting bones, the buttocks, lift your heels up. So the heels lifting significantly to magnify the lift of the buttocks. Draw the buttocks up, straighten your knees, and then slowly work your heels back and down. So as the heels are pressing down, just watch you're not curling your sitting bones down and causing the back to round. Can you go on lifting the sitting bones and moving the spine in towards the front body? And we're going to come to sit in Virasana. So you bring your shoulders forward, bend the knees, bring your knees together, and we'll keep the feet apart. So in the similar position that you just had them for dog pose. But let's take one of the bricks, or maybe you need 2 of the bricks. You put the brick between your ankle bones as you flatten the front feet onto the floor, and then you'll sit back onto your brick. So if the knees are problematic, perhaps you use your 2 bricks. You could have a configuration of the bricks like so, to give yourself a good amount of height. And if that's still not doable because your knees are problematic, perhaps you could sit with the legs out in front, or sit in simple cross legs, or even sit on a chair. So we're sitting in Virasana. Keep the ankles squeezing in, those outer ankle bones squeezing in. Interlock your fingers, set the knuckles on the crown of the head. And so with the arms slightly elevated, and I say slightly because we're going to take them further up in a moment, just notice the position of your mid-body. Oftentimes, as soon as we take the arms up, the mid-body starts to become distorted. We tend to push the lower spine forward and let the belly come forward. So let's bring in a tone to the lower abdomen, pubis to navel drawing up, navel drawing to the back abdominal wall, and the lumbar spine is long and broad. Feel the weight through the sitting bones, then inhale, stretch your arms up. So as you stretch your arms up, squeeze the elbow tips in, working with the arms straight. And again, just notice, is there a tendency to roll the pelvis excessively forward, which causes the lumbar spine to dig in? Can you draw your sit bones under towards the knees enough that you can bring the spine into a long straight position and access the navel lift? Navel drawing up and back to the back abdominal wall. Then exhale, arms down. Swap the interlock of the fingers. knuckles on the crown again. And just sit there for a moment. With the knuckles on the crown, observe the position of the shoulders, the position of your mid-body. Draw navel up and back to the back abdominal wall. Then inhale, arms up. Squeeze the elbow tips in so the arms are straight. And if possible, press the forearm bones back so you're encouraging the shoulders to open. But just note, if your shoulders are tight and you try and press forearms back, sometimes the rib cage and the spine will move instead of the shoulders. So even if the arms are here, they're slightly forward, if the hands are slightly forward of the line of the shoulders, that's fine. Maintain the mid-body awareness and maintain the pelvic abdominal lift. Then exhale the arms forward and down. Let's come back to our dog pose. So you can remove that brick, place your hands towards the front of the mat, broaden the palms, lift up the hips. So we're straightening the knees, but lift the heels just like we did in our first dog pose. Heels lifting, sitting bones lifting, and move the spine in. Thoracic spine and lumbar spine, move it in towards the front body. Then as you descend the heels, can you keep that awareness of the spine moving in towards the front body rather than pulling back and rounding? So if the legs are tight, you might need to keep the heels up so you can magnify the lift of the sitting bones and the movement of the spine. Now let's walk the feet forward to the hands. Take your feet as wide as the mat, place your hands on your bricks, and if you feel particularly stiff in the legs or even in the lower back, you've got concerns in the lower back, you set your bricks to the tall position. But either way, have your wrists under your shoulders and your ankles under your hips. So certainly you don't want the feet too far back. If I said, take your hands off your bricks, what would happen? You'd fall flat on your face. So here, with your ankles vertically under your hips, we take the hands off the bricks, we can stay there. Sternum forward, shoulder tips back towards the hips. Now, if you can go further into this forward bend, Uttanasana, perhaps you take your fingertips to the floor outside the edges of the mat and you fold further down. If you can't manage that, fine, stay on your bricks. Stay in what we call Ardha Uttanasana, the half intense stretch pose. So you're halfway there. We take a few breaths. But now work with the grip here of the kneecaps. So kneecaps gripping into the knee joint, quadriceps lifting up, hamstrings lengthening, back of the knees, back of the thighs opening. Now we come to stand up, so let's raise the head up first. So lifting the head just a little higher than the heart, perhaps you bring your hands onto your bricks. Then the hands onto the waist, feel the strength here in the back body, the spinal muscle strong. Then as you lift up, draw the sit bones down towards your heels so that you lift up without excessively arching your lumbar spine. We lift, we stand in Tadasana, bring the legs together, feet together, and maintain the grip of the kneecaps, the grip of the quadriceps, interlock the fingers and hold the hands on the lower abdomen. So you're drawing pubis to navel up and even feel perhaps the wrists and the inner part of that forearm area on your pelvic bones, helping to lift those front pelvic bones up. So you're reminding the body to bring in that pelvic abdominal lift, as well as contributing to the lengthening of your lumbar spine, your lower back. So pubis to navel lifting up, you're using your hands as support, and the shoulders are rolling back and down. Chest is broad. Then maintain that. Stretch down to the fingertips and lift into the crown of the head. So as you're standing here in Tadasana, your eyes are set. Your gaze is set at eye level. Relax the gaze. And just watch how the eyes might want to flit from point to point. Some have a tendency to cast their gaze down, which eventually tilts the head forward and down. So One of the reasons we would have the eyes set at eye level is to maintain our head in its neutral position, but also to affect our mind state, to bring us here into the moment rather than anywhere else, the past or the future. Now I'm going to turn around and face you as we move on to doing some standing poses. You can have your bricks here at the back of the right and left sides of your mat. And again, we'll be in Tadasana, legs together. So maintaining the grip of the quadriceps, let's sweep the arms forward and up. Inhale. So we're in Urdhva Hastasana. Stretch up, look up. Just make sure your hands are even. Sometimes one arm is further out depending on our shoulders. Maybe one arm's further back depending on our shoulders. So look up, level the hands. If possible, the hands and the wrists are vertically top your shoulders. But if the shoulders are tight, perhaps the arms need to be a little further forward. So you're working to press the forearm bones back, but maintain the sense of being contained here in the front ribs, upper abdomen. Then exhale, arms out wide, hands in front of the chest. We're going to jump or step arms and legs wide. So we bend the knees, we exhale as we take the arms and legs wide. Now I'm going to mirror you. Turn your feet to the right side and make sure that right thigh turns out with the right foot. Anchor through your back heel. So you're plugging the outer left heel to the floor. Inhale. Exhale. Trikonasana. So you're deepening this thigh crease. Feed that femur bone into the pelvis as the pelvis tilts over the femur bone. Press your hips forward. Particularly feel this right buttock. Can you squeeze it forward? Rotate the chest. Turn the left chest to look up. Reach the left arm up. Left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Now, sit your left hand on the waist. We're going to bend this right knee. So you can look down towards the foot. As you bend the knee, depending on the length of your stance, the knee may start to want to come beyond the line of the ankle. So if that's the case, let's get our brick. Put your brick behind the outer ankle. Set your hand on the brick and then scoot your left foot further back so that your knee is now vertically top the ankle. Let your waist sit on your thigh. So your hips need to descend and you need to deepen this thigh crease, deepen the hip flexion. So again, this idea of feeding the femur bone into the pelvis as the pelvis tilts over the femur bone. Now, take your left arm up again. Rotate the left chest up, look up. Squeeze the right buttock forward, but press the right knee back to your arm. Then take the arm over. Now, if your shoulder gets caught, your shoulder doesn't like that sensation, the arm just won't go over. Try sweeping your arm forward and over and see if that helps. Then again, rotate the left chest. Turn to look up. Draw your chin towards your armpit, your forehead towards your upper arm. And continue to press into the left heel. Plug that outer left heel into the floor. Now we're going to come up through Trikonasana, triangle pose. So you can sit your left hand on the waist again. Slowly straighten the right leg. Perhaps the hand stays on the brick. Perhaps you bring your hand onto your ankle. But you might need to slide that brick in. So back in Trikonasana, legs are straight. Top arm is up again. And we'll come to stand up. So push into the left heel. Inhale, stand up. Let's move that brick out of the way and we'll turn our feet to the left. So as you turn your feet, left foot turns out but left thigh turns out. Right foot turns in and you can anchor the outer right heel. Maintain the grip of the kneecaps. Inhale. Exhale to Trikonasana. So keeping your legs straight. Feed this left femur bone into the pelvis. Tilt the pelvis over the femur bone. Hand to shin or ankle. And then you're pressing the hips forward. Can you squeeze the left buttock forward? So you're moving the groin further forward. And then work your right thigh back. So left buttock forward, right thigh back. Rotate the right chest up towards the ceiling. Turn to look up. Reach your arm, stretch the fingertips up towards the ceiling more and more. And go on working the right heel down. So it almost feels like you're trying to stamp that right heel into the floor. Now, set your right hand on your waist. Bend the left knee and have a look. So when you bend the knee, again, if you're intending to bring your hips down and your thigh parallel to the floor, your knee might go a little bit beyond the ankle. So get your brick for your hand, set your left hand on the brick, and perhaps you scoot the right foot a little further back. So now your knee is vertically top the ankle. Press the knee back to the arm, but squeeze the buttock forward, left buttock forward. So again, the groin moves forward. Make sure your right thigh is pressing back, your right heel's plugging into the mat. Then take your arm up, rotate the chest, look up. So right side chest turns up. Then perhaps you take the arm over to the diagonal. Again, if your shoulder gets caught, sweep your arm forward and over. Then rotate the chest up again. Right chest turns up towards the ceiling. And you continue to squeeze the left buttock forward, left knee back towards your arm. Chin towards your armpit, forward towards your upper arm. Now we come back to Trikonasana. So again, you can set your hand on your waist, slowly bend the knee. Straighten the knee. So you're slowly straightening the knee. Perhaps you slide the brick back. Perhaps you bring your hand onto your shin. But as you straighten the knee, again, this idea of the pelvis needing to tilt over the thigh, plug through the back heel, top arm up. Once more, rotate the chest up. And then when you push into the back heel, use that to stand up. Inhale. Turn your feet. Let's move our brick so it's not in the way. And you may need to take the feet in a little closer to be able to access the jump back in. Legs back to Tadasana. So let's pause now in a hip width stance. So feet parallel. Tadasana with hip width legs. And observe the quality of your breath. Consciously slow your breath down. Bring the fingers behind you to interlock. So fingers are interlocking behind the back. Pull the knuckles towards the floor as you're sliding the hands down the buttocks. Press the shoulder tips back, but don't go sticking the buttocks back and arching your back. As your thighs press back, press your buttocks forward, lengthen your tailbone down, and lift the navel up. Pubis to navel lifting up. Now, let's swap the interlock of the fingers. Opposite index finger interlocking on top. Pull the knuckles down. Zip the navel up. Shoulder tips press back and down. And you're containing the front body and not letting the front body spill forward with the buttocks sticking back. Then as you let go of that grip, maintain the lift in the chest and the action in the shoulders, pressing shoulders back and down. Set the legs together again. Ankle bones, big toe bones in contact. And we jump or step wide once more. Inhale, exhale. Arms and legs wide. Turn your feet to the right side. Again, right thigh turning out. So you have a look as the right foot turns out. Make sure your kneecaps turned out as well. Now we're moving to Virabhadrasana II, warrior pose 2. But let's reaffirm the action in this back leg. Press the thigh back, even press the shin bone back, and plug the outer heel. Inhale. Bend the knee as you exhale, look along the right fingertips. So as you bend the knee, you want to descend the hips. You may need to widen the stance somewhat, maybe even shorten the stance depending on how wide you've taken your legs. But just watch your pelvis isn't tilting over the leg. Lift the right side of the pelvis up. Keep drawing the navel up, pubis to navel up, tailbone down. Stand up, inhale. Now we go to Ardha Chandrasana. So let's shorten our stance a little. Can you hop that right foot in? I just need to make sure I don't hit into the wall there. So I'm going to scoot both legs back a little more to the other side of my mat. Well, we've got our brick here. We'll use our brick under our hand. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knee just as we were, but not so deeply. So now we tip over. We're going to take our brick. So hop the back foot in, use your brick under your right hand, stretch the right arm up, stretch the right leg up, left leg up, sorry, left arm, left leg, and turn away from the floor. So even if you need to keep your gaze down at the floor to maintain your balance, can you turn your chest away from the floor? Rotate the left chest up towards the ceiling as you reach your left arm up. Squeeze the right buttock forward. Tailbone lengthens to the left heel. Then we come down. So bend the right knee. Slowly lower the left toes to the floor. We stride back almost through Virabhadrasana II as we come to stand up. Then we're going to turn to the other side. So I'm going to just move this brick out of the way. I'm going to scoot myself a little further back to the other edge of the mat. We go through Virabhadrasana II. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knee. All the while you're bending the knee, you're plugging back through the right heel. So right thigh presses back, right shin presses back. You plug into that outer right foot. You may want to take a wider stance or a narrow stance depending on where you're at. But if possible, knees vertically top the ankle, hips descend, but you're not tilting the pelvis over the leg. Can you lift the left side of the pelvis up and look along the left arm? Squeeze the left buttock forward as the left knee presses back. Then inhale, straighten the leg. We're going to go to Ardha Chandrasana. Inhale. Exhale, you bend the knee and you can reach out for your brick. So I forgot to shorten the stance. It can be a little easier to have the stance a little shorter before we bend the knee and go over. So we bend the knee, we reach over, you hop the back foot in, then take your brick forward enough that when you raise your right leg, your wrist is under your shoulder. Then perhaps you can turn to look forward. That can help in the rotation of the chest. So rotate the right chest up towards the ceiling as you reach your right arm up. And as you reach your right leg up, squeeze the left buttock forward. Tailbone in, pubis and navel lifting. And then we come down. So bend the left knee. Can you control the descent? Step down, find the floor, stride back, then almost as if you're coming through Virabhadrasana II, and you stand all the way up. Turn your feet. Let's jump or step back in so you can narrow the stance a little. Jump back in. And we'll do Uttanasana to rest. So I'm going to turn sideways. Hands on the waist. Inhale. Exhale. Fold forward. Now you might want your brick or your two bricks under your hand. So you're doing Ardha Uttanasana. But if you can go further, feel free to bend the elbows. Catch hold of the elbows and you fold forward and down. Observe the quality of your breath. Breathe smoothly. Now we're going to come back to downward facing dog pose. So just moving my brick out of the way. Place your hands to the front of the mat. Walk your legs back. Feet are hip width, hands are shoulder width. When you're ready, descend the heels. Open the back of the thighs. Hit the shin bones back, lengthening and broadening the calves. And quieten your eyes. Now step your feet together. Walk your hands in. We'll come to a deeper variation of Uttanasana if you're capable. Reach back and hold behind the ankles. Draw yourself down and into the legs. So do what you can to keep those legs strong and straight.
Go on opening the back of the knees. And then we come out of the pose. So bend the knees. We're going to squat down. So for some of us, the heels want to lift, but do what you can to keep your heels down. So you can perhaps hold the mat, stretch the mat forward away from the feet as you try and descend your heels. Descend the buttocks with the heels down. Now, if it's not possible, you could perhaps put a blanket underneath your heels. Pressing the heels down, and then let's stand up again. Back to Uttanasana. Perhaps you hold behind the ankles, perhaps you flatten the palms into the floor. Fold into the legs again. And then once more, variation of Malasana. Squat, reach your hands forward to the mat. And again, Uttanasana, fold into the legs, exhale. And again, Malasana. Squat. And then we're going to come to sit on the floor. So reach your hands behind you just so you don't crash down and sit in Dandasana, the staff pose. Press your thighs down. Broaden the back of the knees, then raise your arms up. Urdhva Hastasana, the upward arm staff pose. Inhale, lift and lengthen the front body. Exhale, reach forward and catch the outer feet. If you can't reach your feet, put your belt around the feet so you're holding on. So particularly if you've got lower back concerns, it would be better for you to be holding on to your belt and sitting more in an upright position. But if you're capable, there's no concerns in the lower back, your hips are ready to flex, your hamstrings are willing to stretch, then go further forward into Paschimottanasana. Press your thighs down. Open the back of the knees, the back of the thighs. And as you're pulling on the feet, watch your shoulders don't creep up into the neck. Draw the shoulder blades away from the neck, but keep the elbows up and out. And slowly raise the head up, raise the torso up, let go of the feet, sit back in Dandasana. Now we're going to finish with lying with the legs up the wall. We'll just keep the pelvis and the back flat on the floor. You might like to bring a blanket in for your head. So you see I've got a blanket here folded for the head. I'm going to come in really close to the wall. I'm going to squat down and come down onto the outer hip, take the buttocks to the wall so that it's easy to stay in close to the wall. Feed one arm through and then roll onto the back. So if your hamstrings are long and you are capable, you've got your buttocks touching the wall, but the back of the pelvis needs to be on the floor. So if there is tightness in the back of the legs, sometimes when we try and get the buttocks to the wall, the tailbone and the back of the pelvis lift up a little bit. So if that's you, take yourself out from the wall a little bit. Legs together, but they can relax. So you don't have to work the legs and the feet here. We're doing this to rest. So it's the end of our session. We want to find some sense of rest, allowing the legs to relax, allowing the heart rate to slow down, allowing the breath rate to slow down. Turn your palms up. Let the shoulder tips descend. Make sure your neck and your head are supported. Feel free to close your eyes. And as you observe the quality of your breath in time, you consciously slow the breath down. So sometimes working more dynamically, we can get puffed, and even when we lay down to relax, we're still breathing perhaps irregularly or fast, in a fast way, and we might not be aware of that. So you bring your consciousness to the breath now, and you deliberately slow the breath, steady the breath. Now to finish up, we're going to slowly bend the knees, slide the feet down the wall. You can roll over to the right side, support the head. And when you're ready, you can come to sit.
Let me know in the comments below how you went with that practice. I love hearing from you. If you enjoyed practicing with me, I invite you to check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. There are over 400 full-length classes in that library, and I'm adding a new class each week. I invite you to subscribe and start with a 7-day free trial. That's it today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.